As the dust of election night has begun to settle, various things are becoming clear. This election was probably not a fair one. Among the culprits of potential fraudsters, the one that stands out the most is Dominion, an electronic voting system used widely across the US. While the rest of us, outside the States, find it strange that an electronic system, and one with an active connection to the internet at that, is being relied upon so much, given the clear and obvious security risks that come with that, the mainstream media claim this has been the safest election of all time. Despite during the past 4 years, they've been trying to convince us that US elections can be so easily influenced by Russia or other bogeymen. Well, the House Committee of Pennsylvania, probably the most important swing state of this election, sought to give Dominion a chance to clear this all up. But after agreeing to the opportunity to clear their name, they didn't show. The question is why? What are they hiding? Well, we're discussing that today and more. This is Political, and we're still on our Election 2020 series. Just very quickly before we jump into this, if you do enjoy our channel, as always, please give us a subscribe, hit the like button, give us a comment down below. It really helps us out with the algorithm, and of course we do enjoy having conversations down in the comment sections with people, and people in the community letting us know what they think. So let's jump into this one. Connor.
Yeah, so we have here today an article from Nick Arama from redstate.com. Go check them out. Just a little bit of context for you in case this is your kind of first introduction to the subject and you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is a Dominion voting machine? So used in over 30 states in the election, and mind you, they've been tied to such shining democracies as Venezuela and Cuba. Rudy Giuliani alleges the company itself was created by Hugo Chavez. So obviously they were used all across America in the election. And it was a complete and utter surprise to everyone that these systems have produced so many errors. So we have here, it would seem fair to have Dominion weigh in and be allowed to defend themselves from some of the questions being battered around, right? Well, apparently the folks in Pennsylvania were perfectly willing to hear from them and asked them to come in to share anything they could with the questions being asked about the election in that state. Dominion had agreed to come into the fact-finding hearing that was on for Friday before the Pennsylvania House State Government Committee to help identify and correct any irregularities in the election process. They pulled out last night, leaving a very bad taste in the mouths of lawmakers and the people of Pennsylvania. State Government Committee Chair Seth Grove said, unfortunately, last evening, Dominion voting systems lawyered up and backed out of their commitment to the people of Pennsylvania to provide their input in a public format. He went after them for retreating into the darkness rather than showing up to explain themselves. Grove said the company had left 1.3 million Pennsylvanians hung out to dry and slapped in their faces. It's only making it worse for them because ultimately they're going to get subpoenaed and they're going to have to come across and lay it out all out there. So if they have nothing to hide, they should deal with it now. In fact, they don't, just heightens every question. And obviously this is the case. You know, when you have a shady company that has been involved in something quite dubious and something quite important, you would say the US presidential election is important, and they refuse to testify, they refuse to cooperate. It just looks shady, doesn't it? So, Yayan, in your view, is it right that this company, so heavily involved in the election, is attempting to dodge quite understandable scrutiny from lawmakers?
No, I don't think it is right. And I think as well, the way that they've gone about this, it's almost like a clever tactic. By agreeing to come to the committee and then a date was scheduled in and then not turning up, what that does is effectively delays. Because if they had said, no, we won't show up, they would have been subpoenaed straight away, and then they would have been forced to show up. And so what this does is it kind of like, it now means that the House, the Pennsylvania House now has to subpoena them and put forward a new date. And obviously, we're getting closer and closer now to the point where the electors will, come forward from the Electoral College and certify these votes. And it almost feels like they're just kind of trying to throw a spanner in the works on this one. But
absolutely. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, if you're Dominion, like, you want the opportunity to come and say something, right? Like, you've got all these various accusations being thrown at you.
Well, do you, though? Because this is a great delaying tactic, isn't it? Because what they can do is they can push back their scrutiny until after Joe Biden is confirmed as president. They can push back this scrutiny at least until, possibly 2022 even. And then they turn around and say, oh, look, we had all these problems. Mea culpa, we made an oopsie, whoops. They don't get any problems for it. If they came under scrutiny now, if they're showing up in these court hearings now and they don't have a reasonable answer, well, that cast doubt on the validity of the election. Well, if he does it in 2022, no one cares. So I think that's actually, I mean, I think someone in Dominion has sat down and said, look, we need to push this back so we get less heat for this. We get less hate from the Conservatives.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, like the FBI. Okay, when they're looking, I've gone off a bit on a tangent first day, but the FBI, when they're looking for, you know, like serial killers and things like this, they try to think about the perspective of the killer or the perspective of the person. Like, what would they do in this scenario? When I think about Dominion and I imagine what would they be doing if they were a guilty party, this is exactly what they would be doing. If they were an innocent party, the thing that they would be doing is they're going, well, hold on, we're a company, we're a business. It's our aim to, you know, create profit and make money. We have all these various contracts across all the states, like you say, operating in 30 states. How many of them are going to be cancelled now unless they can clear this all up and say, no, look, we weren't guilty of anything and we can prove it? They should be jumping on this opportunity to come forward and do something. I mean, you've got Giuliani doing a press conference every couple of days saying Dominion stole the election for Joe Biden. I mean, you can't get much worse bad publicity than that. So why aren't they like bringing forward cases of defamation and slander towards their company or whatever it is, the legal process? Like, there must be so much that they can do to protect themselves and their name. And it almost feels like they're just very quiet on this. They're given this opportunity to do something and they run away from it. I find it all incredibly suspicious, really. And it seems that every time a new development happens, like you're just hoping, okay, look, hopefully things are going to be cleared up now. We're going to get answers to these questions. And they're not. It's just more questions are raised every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you're absolutely right. This is a for-profit business, this. And if they have confidence in their product, what they should be able to do is to be completely open and transparent, show everybody that these accusations against them don't exist. It's like if I own a factory, a meat factory, and someone accuses me of using dog meat or something, okay, but I'm confident I haven't. I invite journalists into the factory to see for themselves. I open up my business and I say, look, all of these are clearly false. Here's why. And actually, I get good publicity of it because I'm able to prove my product is better. What these guys are doing is they're slinking back into the shadows. They're trying to evade the scrutiny. And by not showing up to Pennsylvania, where some of the most egregious fraud has apparently taken place, I won't say so for sure, but has apparently taken place, it's just so suspicious, isn't it? And these companies, I mean, it's almost like we're out of a 1970s spy thriller, like, and we're in some like second world country that's been influenced during the Cold War, because it really is so shady and dodgy.
Yeah, Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani seem absolutely confident that they have the evidence to nail this company down in court and prove without a doubt. Obviously, we're going to know about that probably. They're going to start releasing some of the things that they have. They've been releasing some affidavits and things like this. But some of the less circumstantial evidence that they have, apparently they're going to be releasing. And they say, Sidney Powell said today that, or it might have been yesterday actually, that they expect to be able to prove this within the next 2 weeks. So I really do eagerly anticipate that. But I just want to say as well, just like one final thing, I find it kind of crazy that this voting system even exists in the first place. Like, we don't use electronic, like in the UK, we don't use electronic voting systems. Why? Because they're obviously so easily, hacked or whatever it is you're doing. Like, there's just too many liabilities. They facilitate fraud just at the highest level. The paper system where you just go in, you put in your ballot, you're on a register, they tick you off, and there's just so much oversight and there's so many levels of oversight. And then it's just very, very hard to actually commit any sort of widespread fraud when when most of the votes are basically done in person, right? And so it just seems insane to me that this amount of voting can be done through machines and ones that are connected to the internet. Why? it's just common sense that obviously they're going to be able to facilitate fraud. But you just see this again from the media where like they won't even acknowledge what is obvious to everyone with a working brain that has like an ounce of wisdom that they can go, well, hold on, yeah, my brain tells me, just thinking through it logically, that this facilitates fraud. They won't even accept the obvious things. They won't even make any concessions in the argument. And all it does is it just makes people think, well, what are you hiding? Why are you like being so like defensive about this whole thing? Why can't you just go, yeah, look, you know, voting systems that are electronic connected to the internet, oh, certainly they could be dangerous, but we feel confident they're not. At least if you say that, then that makes people feel a bit confident, like, well, okay, at least you're acknowledging that, my concerns. But when they're just dismissing the concerns that are so obvious, then it becomes worrying.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you know, it's not a contested thing that systems exposed to the internet are exposed. I mean, if you go and drawing on my experience as a European, if you ask anyone in Estonia, okay, they can tell you very, very clearly the danger of having various different organs of government connected to the internet. I mean, Russia launched a cyber attack on Estonia and shut down the entire country for a day, okay? So the more things you have connected to the internet, the more vulnerable you are. That is just a simple matter of fact, okay? Why wouldn't that be true for the US voting system? You know, like how can anyone just hand wave that away? How can anyone paper over that crack? As you rightfully say, it boggles the mind. And yeah, I mean, we're right. I mean, we always bring up the mainstream media. It's a bit of a bugbear of ours, but it's absolutely right. They're not doing their job. Like journalists used to hold these companies up to the most intense scrutiny. They used to hold up. I mean, it's their job, isn't it, to find these things out, expose them to the public, and demand answers. They have a vital role in the working of any democracy, but they're not reporting on Dominion. I mean, we have to go to redstate.com, which, listen, they're good guys, but they're not exactly what you would consider A-star mainstream media outlets, are you? With millions of viewers. Mainstream media, they're not doing their job. They're not holding these things up to scrutiny. And it is damaging democracies, and it's making them more vulnerable.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything else to add onto that? Or?
No. I think I've had my rant for today, so I'm happy.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone that's watched. Thank you to Red State for providing this article for us. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, give us a comment, give us a subscribe, give us a like, all the good stuff. Helps with the algorithm, helps us grow the community. And yeah, big thank you to everyone that has subscribed recently. We passed that 300 barrier, and you know we're building a bit of a community. We've got people that come in and comment all the time, and we feel very privileged. I think is the word. We feel privileged to have people that are interested in what we're talking about, and to be able to have those conversations. It's yeah, a brilliant feeling. So thank you everyone, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.